Welcome to our AFP webinar livestream, The Great Wealth Transfer, How to Build a Multi-Generational Donor Base That Lasts, sponsored by Raisley. My name is Jeremiah, and I will be the operator for the presentation today. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to acquaint you with a few features of this livestream technology. At any time, you may adjust your audio using your computer volume settings. For closed captions, click the CC icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the video player. Select English to enable closed captions. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see the audience engagement window with navigational tabs at the top. The chat tab allows audience members to communicate with one another. To send a message to the audience chat, click in the text box and type your comment. To send the comment, press the Enter key or the Send icon. The Q&A polling tab is where you will ask the presenters questions. You will need to enter your first and last name to participate in polls or to ask a question. To ask a question, click in the text box and type your question. When finished, press the Enter key or click the paper airplane icon to send the question. All questions that you submit are only seen by today's presenters. Your questions will be responded to in the order in which they were received and will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available within 3 to 5 business days in your Path Learning Management System account where you are watching today's live stream. Handouts are available under the Resource tab under your video player. We are joined today by our speaker, Kimberly Bottom. Kimberly Bottom is a 15-plus year veteran in storytelling, with more than a decade of experience helping nonprofits craft messaging to inspire audiences to give, join, and take action. With a background in journalism, team leadership, and nonprofit technology, Kimberly brings a practical approach to messaging rooted in curiosity, real human voices, and authenticity. Kimberly has partnered with hundreds of nonprofit teams to sharpen positioning, elevate community voices, and support mission-driven work through modern fundraising technology. Kimberly is now the Director of Community at Valora, connecting nonprofits through shared experiences, best practices, and leading-edge ideas. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Kimberly to begin today's webinar.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hello out there. Thank you so much for joining today. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer. I am Kimberly Bottom, the Director of Community at Valora. I hope you guys know that I would love for this to be a conversation. So please drop where you're coming from in the chat. Say hello. If I saw you at Icon, wave, send me a little something. I would love to interact with you guys as we do this presentation. If you have questions, absolutely drop them in the Q&A. If you have a quick comment, drop it in the chat. I would love to just kind of interact with you guys and rather than speaking into the void, make this something that's engaging and conversational. So giving you guys a little bit of background. Again, I'm the Director of Community at Valora, and I know you're going, wait, Valora, the logo says Raisley, but Raisley is the fundraising tool under the Valora umbrella. So Valora is a nonprofit operations platform. It includes Raisley as the fundraising tool, Keela as the CRM component, and Aplos as the fund accounting system. So all told, those 3 tools, more than 15,000 nonprofits are using them for more than a decade. Much of the information that you're going to see here today is actually based on learnings from those nonprofits. So real fundraising campaigns, real donor interactions, real fund transparency. So thank you so much, first of all, to AFP for their partnership, for giving us an opportunity to share these learnings with you. And thank you guys so much for taking time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedules to further your education, hang out with me, hopefully learn a couple useful things, and better the industry as a whole. So first and foremost, talking about the Great Wealth Transfer, which is building a multi-generational donor base that lasts. Why should we care, right? That's the first thing that we want to ask ourselves. Obviously, we already care, but if you didn't care before, knowing that over the next 2 decades, an estimated 84 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars is moving from the boomer generation to their younger generation. So their families, their beneficiaries, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, etc. That's a big pie, right? That's coming down the pike. And then 12 to 15 trillion of that is the slice that the nonprofit industry could get through charitable giving. So at this very moment, that world-changing wealth is actively being handed down. This is not a future thing, it's a now thing from parents and grandparents to their children and their beneficiaries. So, but nonprofits largely are still reliant on those older generations. So, boomers account for 43% of all charitable donations in the US. So, almost half. That is a staggering statistic when you consider that boomers only make up about 11 to 13% of the population. So we've got almost half of the dollars coming from a very small fraction of the actual opportunity out there. So let's put that in the context for the folks here today. We've got a poll because I want to see from your perspective what you guys are seeing within your individual organizations. So Jeremiah will help me launch this poll. It should be showing up for you here shortly, so keep an eye out. But I want you guys to think about this. What percentage of your donor base are boomers? If you don't know exactly, that's totally fine. We're thinking in relative ballpark terms. So the options you should be seeing soon in the poll are less than 25%, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, or more than 75% of our donor base are of the boomer population. So if you have eyes into those statistics at your nonprofit, I would love for you guys to participate. That poll should probably be coming up now. The votes are starting to come in. Amazing. We'll give you guys just a little bit more time. Man, I should have queued up the Jeopardy music. Opportunity missed. That is okay. We'll give you guys another 10 to 15 seconds to wrap your mind around that statistic, drop it there in the poll. And when that poll ends, I've got one more poll question for you after that, but we'll give you just a couple more seconds to drop those things in there. Here, I'll just do it manually. Do, do, do. I'm just actually, you know what? Do people even know that anymore? Or is Jeopardy so far in the past now that many of us aren't even sure what that music means? I might be showing my millennial age here by going ahead and queuing that up. All right. All right. We've got the results from that first poll. I'm going to keep them close to the chest for right now and share them in just a second because I want you guys to answer this second poll, which should be coming up here shortly. So, what percentage of your donation revenue comes from boomers? So, the first question is about how many of the human beings are actually contributing. This is more about the overall dollar amount that you are seeing coming in from the boomer generation. Again, that poll should be coming up here shortly, so you guys can drop that information in. And again, a ballpark, less than 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, or more than 75. So you can kind of see what that previous statistic showed, which is 43% of the revenue is coming from only 10%, right? 11 to 13% of the actual world's population. So we're trying to draw those two comparisons by comparing these poll numbers. I'll give you guys just one more second while I take a sip of water. Mm. Vote should be coming in now. Amazing. All right, we've got the poll number. So I'm looking, guys, and this is looking just about tracking with the overall data that we're seeing industry-wide, which is that the percentage of your donor base that are boomers, we had a majority saying that 50 to 75% is how much? So more than half, right? Almost three quarters. Next up was 25 to 50, and then over 75 was a little further down, which is a good thing, right? We're not seeing so many people with like the absolute majority, the 75 and above numbers being the norm for them. And then in terms of percentage of your donation revenue, same thing. 50 to 75 was far and away the most popular or the most industry or organization-wide answer here. And then more than 75% was the second one. So we've got, on average, more than half of your actual donor numbers are showing that they're boomers. And then you've got the actual revenue even higher than that. So this is just an indicator, guys. You guys are probably already aware of this, right? That we are probably relying much too much on this generation that will, quite frankly, only be with us on this earth for a short amount of time. So I'm sure you knew all of this was happening, but just a reinforcement. And now we're going to talk about what we can do about it. So we've got 42 ideas for you today to not only, not forget our boomers. We love the generation that's supporting us now, but to start to move into those other generations. So you guys already know that this over-reliance on our major donors, it's not a future problem. You're actually already late to the problem or to the party problem because other nonprofits who are actively working to engage those younger generations, they're accomplishing this. They are making best friends with the people who will support a sustainable future for their missions, right? So if you're not in this cohort, you're missing your opportunity to become the younger generation's best friend while you have the chance. Now, if you're behind, obviously that doesn't mean you should give up. One of my mentors always used to say this when I felt behind, which is the best time to plant an oak tree was 30 years ago, but the next best time is today. So that's what we're doing today. We're planting our oak trees. Let's get to planting. Here's what we're going to cover: understanding who your donors are, how they give, and what keeps them engaged. So we're going to cover all the generations, including our beloved boomers, and how they can help pass that torch because each generation carries a distinct relationship with money, institutions, and the overall idea of philanthropy itself. And for all your older generations like me on here today, I included this GIF, the man taking notes, is a sense of nostalgia. For all of you younger generations, this is a bit of history for you. This is what people used to do before AI note takers came along. Crazy, right? Like super manual. Let's start with the golden givers, and may they all be as cool and spicy as Sophia from the Golden Girls. Born between 1946 and 1964, that would make them between 62 and 80 years old today. Obviously, their priority is legacy. They want to leave behind a meaningful impact, and their love language to accomplish that is trusting people and institutions and that personal touch that they grew up with because they did not grow up in the age of digital. So that in real life experience is very valuable to them. And the overlooked opportunity for the older generation, because right now we really just rely on them to help fund our missions individually. The opportunity for them is their network of younger generations, their friends, their families, their beneficiaries. These are the types of things that you can lean on the older generations to introduce you to the younger generations. So here are some program ideas to keep them engaged while also helping them pass that torch to their family members. First and foremost, planned giving and bequests. So these tactics make legacy giving easy for them to act on. First and foremost, try using a dedicated legacy landing page that has three options: bequest, which is a gift written into their will; a beneficiary, which is receiving assets from a financial account when they do pass away, that bypasses a will; and then a DAF, or a donor advised fund, which is a charitable account that they fund for tax deductions and then distribute to charities. You also could include a one-page legacy PDF that your donor can print or forward to an advisor in any of the above scenarios, right? And that includes your organization's unique value proposition so they know why they're choosing to give these funds to you. And then also consider a simple intake form for donors so that they can get more assistance, like if they need to request a call for clarification, or if they need sample language for an advisor, or maybe they want to just notify your nonprofit that they're going to include you in their legacy giving. Make sure they can communicate with you in the way that they know how and they are comfortable with doing. Next up, consider a legacy society. This is a sense of community for those building their legacies, right? It's a recognition program that feels personal and special to the legacy donors. So the boomer generation has traditionally valued status that comes with large gifts, right? Like having your name on the wing of a building if you can afford to do that. But not every individual human feels that way. So in a legacy society, recognition should be personalized, right? We want names that can be listed by preference. They can be public names if they want that status, or they can be private, they can be anonymous, but give them the option when they are opting into this legacy society that you're creating for them. For those legacy givers, they get their own annual legacy update because they are making a serious impact, right? This should be a letter from leadership outlining what their future gift is going to protect. And direct mail here in this instance is a worthwhile investment. I know some of us are starting to scale back those direct mail programs. That's wise for just the simple cost that it that it costs to send mail through printing and shipping. This is one area where direct mail can have a real impact, right? It is a smaller group, so no expensive mass mailings. And the weight of the real mail is something that that boomer generation really appreciates. And then finally, remember the human touch value we talked about earlier. Small annual recognition moment, which is like a handwritten note, a call, or an invitation to an event that speaks directly to their legacy gift and makes a meaningful impact. All right. Personal touch points, right? Personal touch was one of the things that they prioritize. And this will help you steward with specificity. So timing is vital, right, for these things. A thank you call, actual phone call, should be made no more than 2 days after the priority donor gives. This shows the your gift and support means so much that I will drop everything to thank you for it mentality. It's something that's going to make them feel very valued for probably the substantial gift that they are giving. If you are segmenting donors based on the initiatives that they care most about, which, by the way, you should be doing, a quarterly impact report or note based on those initiatives shows them that you're listening, right? But this does not have to be your annual report. Like if you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do an annual report every quarter. That would be an insane amount of work. This should be brief. This should absolutely be specific, right? One story, one metric, one photo. Since they are happening more frequently, this is just that sort of insertion into someone's busy life to say, hey, remember us, your gift still matters, and we are still moving forward because of you. And then this is a big one if you're not already doing this, guys. A funds in, funds out stewardship snapshot once or twice a year, which shows accountability. It shows that you are managing their gifts responsibly and with transparency, which is really indexing on that need that we talked about earlier for trust, because trust is such an important thing for this generation. Lastly, family giving programs, right? We talked about the opportunity to use the older generation as a pipeline into the next generation. So then you can establish relationships and build new ones within their families. So consider something like a give together option for holidays or birthdays or other celebrations within their own personal realms. And that can include a kit that would be like a landing page, suggested messaging for peer-to-peer campaigns, right? So this allows you to have that bonding moment with you and with their loved ones, which is a dual purpose. There's also something like a family challenge or a mini campaign that would be tied to a specific outcome. That's a great way to accomplish something similar to that Give Together campaign, but this one can be on your schedule. So rather than being at the mercy of when their birthday or their holiday is, if you want to create a challenge that is similar around something that you have on your calendar. And then invite them to tell the story of why their family gives, right? Like you've got great copy on your webpage for sure, but each individual donor has a reason, and we want to elevate those voices. So the story prompt can invite value-based participation for them, and it also gives you a personal, unique perspective that can be used for either marketing or new donor acquisition efforts. All right, guys, we said that we were going to talk about how technology either helps or hurts these initiatives. Here's how it can help with the boomer generation. Segmentation. I know that we know this word, and I hope that we are all already doing this, but if you're not, let me reinforce how important it is. Putting donors into meaningful buckets based on preferences, behaviors, these things that we are learning about them as they are interacting with us, so that you can focus on what they care about. And then it also tracks when their family members begin to engage. So this is where technology can help. So donor CRMs like Keela and the Valora Suite or others can accomplish this, plus a layer of automated outreach that does still feel personal. You never want automation to feel like automation. So the best practices are map household connections in your CRM so you can track legacy interest and then also next generation engagement. And that can trigger a welcome when a family member opts in, which is great because it saves you time. Consider tracking household connections like the Miller family, labeling those contacts according to their household role, so partner, dependent, head of household, and then tag contacts within a household with labels. So if the legacy interest is a possibility, a family influencer or next gen engaged, right? Just so you can quickly reference and create lists around those particular personalities. And then trigger a light touch, meet the mission welcome email when a family member opts in, because they might have heard about it from, their generations that are passing this down, but you want your voice to be inserted in as well. So when it comes to stewarding boomers, the goal is twofold: making their legacy participation easy, personal, visible, and then using their like natural inclination to involve their family as an opening to build relationships with the next wave of donors. All right, guys, when can technology hurt in the boomer generation? I think you might know this already, but you can't forget the human touch, right? Don't use so much automation that it feels impersonal. So steer clear of these pitfalls specifically for the boomer generation, which is mass impersonal messaging that makes their significant gift feel trivial because they're just being lumped in with everybody else, right? You don't want language that feels robotic. So, organizational jargon, or even using an AI generated message that you haven't vetted and edited to make it more real. I'm not saying don't use AI to help you lay the groundwork, but you guys should know this. Never copy and paste, right? Always take that as a framework and then insert your own voice and your own meaning into it. And then don't forget to skip the IRL touches, right? The in real life stuff, direct mail, phone calls, invitations to events. Boomers especially appreciate this because this is how they grew up and this is what makes them feel something within themselves. So, in a digital world, the in real life stuff is so, so important for this particular generation. Okay, moving on from our beloved boomers to the next generation, Generation X, right? They are actually starting to enter their peak earning years while taking on more responsibility for family wealth and giving decisions and those types of things. So the shift from boomers, Gen X cares less about status and more about impact, right? They are pragmatic, they are selective, and they want transparency and evidence that their support is producing real outcomes. So if you engage them properly now, they will become the backfill to the boomers who are departing. And Gen X doesn't need to be convinced to give. This is not a sales pitch. They need to be convinced that your organization is worth giving to. So the programs we're going to cover next are built to establish that confidence early and then deepen it over time through proof, education, and then a giving experience for them that respects how they actually make decisions. First and foremost, impact reporting. We said impact was important, right? Show donors exactly what their support is producing on a predictable cadence so that that confidence continues to compound over time. So if you're not already doing this, consider a quarterly results email. Again, does not have to be long, but we want to include what the donor did, right? How did they give? What did they give to? And then what changed from that impact? Is it a new refrigerator in a victim services center? Is it more meals to more families? And then tell them what's next, right? We've accomplished this with your help. We're looking forward, and here's how you can join us. So, this can be largely automated through proper segmentation with a final eye by you to add personal touches for real impact. Oh, mix that one up. Consider a one-page impact snapshot that supports major gift and DAF conversations. So if they're looking for something that just summarizes why they should give deeper, whether it be a larger gift or a DAF fund, this impact snapshot will give them the fuel to do that. And then give also a where your gift goes page, right? That informs the donor with transparency and mirrors the language that they've seen in the previous tactics like the emails or the impact reports. So the best practice here, use photos or videos if you have them as much as possible. Humans relate to humans more than words on a page. Tax smart giving education, right? Gen X, again, they're starting to take on more of those financial responsibilities and they want to know that if I'm going to give, is there a benefit for me in terms of my finances? And this is something super smart to lean into. So you can turn awareness of non-cash giving options into action with a content series that makes that more kind of complex giving style really accessible for people. So starting maybe with a three-part email series covering the different types of non-cash donations, right? So stock gifts, DAF grants, IRA, QDCs, put it in plain language so they can understand what their options are and see if that works for them and their advisors. Also creating like just a downloadable one page, don't make it too long, Give Smarter page that donors can forward to an advisor. It's not only for them to learn, but it's also something, arm them with the information they need to get their advisors on board with what they want to contribute to. And then also, again, the human touch is still important to Gen X, a talk to us form, right? If I'm confused, if I don't know the difference between a DAF and an IRA, QDC, I need to talk to a human. Clear next steps, right, to how to reach humans and get support. And then also just maybe a wealth of resources that can help you understand how to compete or complete that non-cash gift if that's where you are heading. A blended gift pathway for Gen Xers is a great way to lay the foundation for what you're currently doing with your boomers, right? Which is making the ask for gifts now while planting our oak tree seeds, right? For legacy giving options down the road. So consider dual calls to action on your website, right? So campaign calls to action that offer both make a gift now and include us in your plans, right? Kind of in the same vein. So it feels like one connected decision rather than two separate conversations that you have at different times. You want them to see the give now and support us long term by setting up something that is in a legacy plan. Consider a legacy nurture track, right? Because they're not maybe ready to be those legacy givers just yet, but you're laying the foundation for them to understand the impact of that. So, two impact updates and maybe one like tax smarter reminder per quarter. So, you're speaking to the impact that they care so much about, but you're also saying, hey, by the way, this could benefit you financially. And then a legacy starter kit, right? So this is an option for donors who want to learn and explore before they commit. Because again, this might seem overwhelming and you want to make it seem very easy and accessible. Outcome-based appeals, right? This is again speaking to that impact. What does my dollar do? Consider something like, excuse me, a collective win. And we have, excuse me, a little bit more sense of urgency than the boomer generation here because of the way we were raised. So, a collective goal with a live scoreboard that's tied to a time-bound target can work very, very well. Pardon me. All right, there we go. Consider impact framing, which means dollar amounts linked to actual outputs. Many of you are probably already doing this. I know so many nonprofits who have changed the language on their website to dollars raised to something like pounds of trash removed from the ocean, families fed, acres of land preserved, right? This is definitely the framing that we want to move forward with to speak to the impact that these Gen Xers are inclined to react to. And then post gift confirmations that tells donors exactly what their gift unlocked. So in this world, of 24/7 consumerism that we are constantly exposed to, people are used to a payoff, right, for spending their money. Since you can't deliver an Amazon package by 2 p.m., which is what they usually get for their money, you need to find another way to give them a high, the helper's high, right? Which makes spending their money emotionally worth it, and it needs to be time sensitive. So, where in the Gen X sphere can technology help us? Automation, again, that doesn't feel like automation. But the great thing about automation is it's not just taking that first party data, which is who I am, where I live, what age I am, all those types of things. This is behavioral automation, so not just contact form fields. So if you run an email series that can actually adapt based on behaviors, so if somebody opens an email, but doesn't click a link, they might have a different path than somebody that opened the email and did click the link. So many tools offer this kind of automation now, so you can make sure you're speaking to that individual person's journey. And then when they do click that link, hopefully, and visit that landing page, make it a multiple use page, right? Make it obviously the top thing, the easy thing is to donate, but they can also read an explanation. They can download resources. This is something that will allow them to say, if I'm not ready to hit that donate button yet, I can still be engaged and find out the value of my contribution. And then fund stewardship language can be automated, which is so important because so many people donate to causes. They want their particular dollar to go to this part of your mission. And if you are able to automate the incoming dollars for those fund specific gifts and then output actual collateral that says, I heard you, you want your money spent this way, and I'm showing you how I'm doing it, that can be automated and can be extremely impactful for people in the Gen X generation who, again, care a lot about their impact. Where can technology hurt us in the Gen X, right? Accountability. Little play on words here because, again, that fund stewardship is often a missing piece or it is a very manual piece in a nonprofit's sort of behind the scenes administrative setup. Do not be like Kevin from The Office here, manually doing everything and then hoping that you can actually produce something that is meaningful and accurate, quite frankly, right? You should be wary of using for-profit tools because those tools are designed to track profit, not track fund management. Those are two very different workflows. So, tools like QuickBooks don't set up reporting to show impact based on specific funds. So, try to look for tools that are nonprofit or fund management, fund accounting specific, because the other ones almost always require manual reconciliation and handoffs, and that can increase the chance of human error, or it can just make the reporting, well, first of all, very time consuming for you, but maybe less impactful for the people on the other end. All right, guys, moving on. Here we go. We've got about 15 minutes left of content, and then I want to leave plenty of time for Q&A. Moving on to millennials, and I am allowed to use this GIF of the food influencer because I am that person. So it's okay that I use it, right? Instagram eats first. Anyone else? So millennials born between 1981 and 1996, between 30 and 45 years old, they are mission-led, they are peer influenced, and they are super quick to disengage when an organization's actions don't actually match its values, right? Prioritizing community, they take a lot of stock in what their peers think and do. I can definitely, that resonates with me as a millennial, right? So the Millennial Impact Project actually found that 90% of millennial donors are motivated by the mission itself, right? So credibility comes from what you do and how you show it. And they trust people more than institutions, hence their priority being around community. So expect things like mobile first giving and then stick with recurring support when they feel like they're part of something real. Millennials don't need to be sold, right? We don't need a hard sell. We just need to see your organization operating with the same values that you ask the donors to invest in. So let's talk about some programs that will meet them there, turning mission alignment into advocacy and hopefully one-time gifts into sustained recurring giving. First and foremost, community is the priority. So, what better than peer to peer, right? It is no wonder that these programs work so well for millennials. The benefit for you running peer to peer campaigns is that this is an always on 24 hours a day fundraising program that lets donors advocate for your mission in their own voice. So, your reach grows through people, not just paid channels. So consider peer-to-peer ambassador programs that are things like quarterly campaigns in a box, right? You design the theme, the goal, the assets, and the story prompts, and then it helps them be creative, but it also gives them the guidance and the tools to align with your mission. Personal fundraising pages that lead with the why I'm in over organizational copy are so powerful, right? An example, I am a champion for the Teton Regional Land Trust here in Eastern Idaho, where I live. And their homepage, for example, says that they protect 43,000 acres of critical wildlife habitat and working lands. That is an impressive stat, don't get me wrong. But for me, hiking, camping, backpacking, biking, kayaking, all of that in this landscape over my life has inspired me. It has healed me. It has got me through some tough life moments by allowing me to surrender to the greatness of it all. Like that personal narrative is more motivating to inspire my personal network to contribute than that 43,000 acre organizational stat probably ever would, right? And then consider micro updates, right? They could be weekly, they could be on whatever cadence you want, but this is updates that fundraisers can share. And again, brief, one stat, one story, one next step. It just makes it timely. As a former news producer, trust me, the term breaking news still stirs something within the human psyche. It does for sure. So when you make your updates feel urgent, relevant, exciting, supporters feel like they are along for the ride of a lively and thriving cause. Volunteer to recurring, right? We are trying to get people into sustainer roles to create that predictable revenue for our organizations. And a great way to start that journey is through the volunteers that you are engaging. So, first and foremost, before we start about programs, make sure you're diligent with that follow-up for the after volunteer, right after that volunteer decides to pitch in. So, your 48-hour post-volunteer follow-up should include thanks, obviously, context around the impact that they made, and then a nod to the next opportunity to engage, right? They're still riding the helper tie from volunteering. Give them that next thing that they can pencil in on their calendar. Since community is such a big driver, consider a bring a friend next time invitation. And that can be subtly built into every volunteer communication, really leaning into that sense of community. And then once they feel loved and seen and supported, then you can send that soft ask for recurring financial support and you frame it around how they can impact your work even more. So that way it feels less like sales, which they are inclined to kind of stay away from, and more like it's just a deepening of a relationship with your organization and the impact that they can have by doing so. All right, we've talked about community, we've talked about impact. The next value to reinforce through your campaigns is radical transparency. So, a kit can proactively answer the questions that millennial donors are already asking by making financial and operational clarity a very visible part of your brand. So, first and foremost, a page that says where your gift goes, right? Simple. Honest breakdown does not need to be complicated. This type of language should be reinforced during every phase of the donation journey, right? It should be prevalent before they give. It should be a redirect page after a donation, and it can also live as a standalone asset that should be easy to find on your website. So just letting them know every moment of the way, you're not just giving money, this is where it goes. And then similarly, how we make decisions page can kind of cover the principles, priorities, and what you measure as an organization. So you're already transparent about what their money does. Be transparent about the processes that make sure you keep the promise to use their money in the way that they want you to. And then again, another impact recap. This can be quarterly, this can be whatever cadence you think that your organization or your supporters would be most inclined to, but we want to make it skimmable, easy to share. Excuse me. Skimmable, easy to share, and then not only a reinforcement for that millennial donor, but this is an asset that they can pass along to their community. So it's fulfilling that awareness and the reach opportunity that we talked about with this generation earlier. All right, so for our Gen Xers or our millennial donors, where can technology help us? So, peer to peer, obviously, the tools that we have now for peer to peer can make these campaigns so much easier than the days where you would spend days or weeks designing collateral only to wonder if your champions ever downloaded them out of their email. Did they ever actually share them with their networks? Now you have tools that can help you do this all in one space. So, you can design templates that are easy for them to access and personalize. They don't need a background in design to figure it out, right? They can post directly to their social channels through your tool. They don't have to then go download, upload. That little bit of friction between there can stop somebody from engaging when they otherwise wanted to. So it's easier for them, and then it's better for you because you have visibility on the engagement data because you're using one tool to do it. And then they also have access to things like unique QR codes. So they can continue tracking their impact, and so can you, right? Which champions are making the most impact. Plus, these tools can easily spin up reports for leadership and board directors. So you can segment your champions easily, send automated follow-up based on their activity, and then props for the active ones, right? If you want to send out some kind of communication, or you can send gentle reminders to maybe the ones that are a little slower to adopt and just need a nudge to move on. So, where can technology hurt when we are talking about the millennial generation? Don't let automation become the only thing that they are aware of, especially when it comes to recurring giving. Recurring giving is a very set it and forget it model for them, so it's a convenience. But remember, it's not quite as hands off for you, right? Automation help with segmenting and for setting up timely outreach, but not in a one size fits all model. So lazy recurring donor communications can signal complacency, like I don't really care that much about your recurring gift. I'm just going to blanket everybody. You want them to still feel special. So just because they're on your subscription schedule doesn't mean you will always be on it, right? The moment they start to revisit finances for whatever reason, you could be on the chopping block if you haven't shown them why their monthly gift is important. And remember, community, super important, community first. You should be labeling these sustainer giver programs with a sense of community. One of my favorite nonprofits in Grand Rapids, Michigan, called Guiding Light, they are a recovery center for substance abuse individuals. They call their community, their recurring giving, light keepers because they're guiding light, and they have a whole brand associated with it and a whole newsletter that is special for those people to show the impact of that sustainer gift. So it really gives that sense of community that millennials especially are very inclined to feel very, very seen by. All right, guys, Gen Z. We're getting on to the folks who are just about getting to the point where they have money to spend, which is great. So we want to engage them early on. They've grown up online. Their giving behavior follows that feed, right? The priority for them is value, and they're activated by urgency. And just like millennials, community participation is very important. But growing up with the internet would make anybody skeptical, right? Like, is this information real? There's so much of it, it's everywhere. So, that rule is certainly true with Gen Z. They are very wary of companies and organizations. Instead of putting stock in organizations, they put stock in people, which is why influencer culture is so strong with this generation because human faces mean a lot more than logos. So don't let their current spending power fool you. Even though a Gen Z donor might only be able to give $15 today, if they share your campaign with their network, which is vast because they are connected digitally to everything, then their network is worth far more than that original $15 transaction would imply. So Gen Z's entry point into giving is participation, not persuasion. If you engage them today, you are going to build that meaningful connection that's going to lead to long-term loyalty, and these next campaigns are designed to support that. All right, urgency. It's motivating. Let's use it. Rapid response campaigns. Social first rapid response campaigns, let me go ahead and put these all up here, are designed to spread quickly with a clear outcome and a hard deadline because that creates momentum. So consider a like 48 to 96 hours, just a couple days, match this moment push because that creates excitement. So that can include a live progress tracker, like a countdown if you want, and that triggers that FOMO moment within them. This generation lives on their phones, right? Remember BRB? Does anybody, the millennial generation? Yeah, we don't, there's no BRB. We live here now. So definitely this generation follows that map, that model. So allowing these mobile first assets is key. So consider one short video, and y'all, I mean short, right? 15 to 20 seconds, or even shorter than that if you're on TikTok. So short is short, one stat, one impact moment, and make it mobile friendly. And then that sense of urgency can work against you if your form takes 10 minutes to fill out. So making sure that a minimal field donation form optimized for mobile and impulse action, that works best with this group. And frankly, in this kind of fast-paced, distraction-riddled world that we all live in now, this is just a best practice for every generation. Making it easy to give is key. All right, because Gen Z doesn't have the cash flow to make big contributions, the path to deepening your relationship with them should follow a micro giving to monthly upgrade kind of flow. So lower the barrier to a first gift, then convert it for the most engaged donors into that recurring support through a structured upgrade path. So entry asks tied to a specific outcome, again, impact and values at accessible price points. It makes it feel like, okay, my $5 does make a difference rather than you go to the page and $5 isn't even an option, right? Oh, I don't know if I can give 25. That's kind of a lot for me. So make sure that it's accessible and it's specific about what that smaller dollar amount can actually do. Impact protection is great. So something like a round up your gift or cover the processing fees option, that can be just a little bit more money that they would be inclined to give. But when it's framed to protect the impact of their gift, that is going to help motivate them to give just a little bit more. And then consider a two-step upgrade path. So a thank you, obviously, and proof of what they're doing after the first gift. And then a monthly invitation that is tied to community, belonging, further impact, right? Cultivating those feelings within them without breaking their bank account. Where can technology help us when it comes to Gen Z? Creating urgency, right? We're not going to be awake and at our desks 24-hour a day. Actually, I'm talking to fundraisers, so you probably might be close to that. God bless you and Godspeed. But we don't want to be tied to our desks 24 hours a day, right? So technology can help create urgency through automation as long, again, as the segmenting and messaging per segment is locked in first. So on the top of the funnel, right? When you're first engaging people, ads, social media, paid search, that can keep your message top of mind as Gen Z lives their lives online, which they are doing. I think the average right now is closer to 10 hours of screen time a day for this generation. Now, once they engage, those behaviors and preferences are noted automatically. So that way, the continued engagement feels tailored to them. It gives them timely updates and reminders in the ways that they've showed us they already prefer. And again, with proper segmentation and appropriate messaging, the follow up after a gift can be instant, but still feel personal. And then it deepens your relationship with them from the get go. Now, where technology can hurt with this generation, you gotta make it easy, right? When it doesn't keep up with their pace of living, bye, right? They will be gone so fast. So things like slow loading donation pages, too many form fills, non-mobile optimized pages, content form, and quite frankly, sorry guys, ugly websites, they're gonna hurt you. Younger generations will judge your entire organization, not just your website, based on these things. So if you prioritize cleaning up your digital storefront a little bit, right? That's going to help Gen Z and quite frankly, all younger donors stick around and give you enough credibility to make a gift and actually create a relationship with you. All right, really quickly, guys, I want to touch on Gen Alpha. They're not quite ready to give yet, but here are some ways to make sure that we're not forgetting them, right? They give through participation, family influence, excuse me, and experiences that feel interactive. So, right now, priority is just building that early familiarity, that emotional connection, family rituals. You just want to make your mission part of their world because they're going to sustain your organization in 2040, right? The kids from today and the nonprofits that show up in their lives now are going to have a meaningful head start. So, just some ways to kind of get in front of them. Excuse me. Whew, would be family and gamification pathways to help you get there. So, designing family volunteer days with age appropriate roles and then a take home impact recap. That's going to make Gen Alpha feel important, which you rarely do when you're that age, right? And then their actions are actually making a real difference, and that's going to be meaningful to them. Cause-based learning and mission challenges. So creating short, age-appropriate challenges that teach your mission through action. So think about progress with families or even classrooms, right, that can track together. And having a digital badge, right, making me feel important, printable certificate, something like that. Kids can earn something and it gives them something to work towards. And then if you want to engage a lot of them all at once, right, a classroom ready version. So this is simple daily actions that they can do either together as a community or, as homework, learn, do, share style. And it allows schools to run with a simple facilitator kit. That way you can start to engage en masse without having a whole bunch of manual overhead, like sending people to lead these things. Just the kit will allow these schools and classes to do it themselves. Okay, guys, before we get to Q&A, I want to give you some good news because I just gave you 42 different ideas and you're like, there's no way I'm launching 42 campaigns. Obviously, that is not the goal. And good news, you don't even need to create 5 separate programs based on these generations. There is overlap. So tag this. You'll be getting this slide deck. You can keep this later. But this is just showing the programs that stretch across generations. There is absolutely overlap. So you can design 1 or 2 programs that deliver the most impact, right? Top movements are things like appeals tied to outcomes and impact reporting. That's very important with the generations that are moving forward. It resonates with almost every single generation, but certainly the younger ones. And then for the younger generations, as we make that shift into engaging them mostly, peer-to-peer, recurring giving, mobile first donation experiences. Those are the things that are really going to make an impact for not only getting them to make that first gift, but to stick around for all those years to come. All right, guys, that is my presentation. And I just saw a really healthy list of questions. Yes. Here in the chat. So I'm going to run through as many as I can in the next 11 minutes. All right. Do I have a sample explainer? Whoever asked that question, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what that is in context to. So I will be sure to provide the AFP folks with my email. So hopefully you can reach out to me in particular. I'm sure I probably do have a sample explainer of many of these things that I've given you here today and would love to pass that along for you. So why are retirements account not listed in the dedicated landing page for boomers? That could, if that is something that you are seeing as a particularly impactful method, it is something you could include in your page, right? These are some ideas based on what we are seeing our nonprofits run. This is by no means a comprehensive list of absolutely everything you should be doing. But when we're talking about boomers, like you said, whether it's retirement accounts, DAFT funds, other types of legacy giving, whatever you think is going to resonate with your audience is what you should include. Number three, we have been advised not to send all materials to DAF providers, only letters to donors that they will pass along. Any advice on how to work with this? I'm not sure who's advising that, but if that is the goal, then I would respect that, obviously, sending the letters to donors, right? So if you are working with the providers, you kind of have to play by their rules, right? But I would say that any correspondence that you can give that proves the impact and gets the emotional connection from the person who is actually making the gift is what is going to give you the most chance, right? Like obviously they care about if it's a DAF, they care about the tax implications, but how are you going to differentiate yourself from the other nonprofits that they are considering? What would a legacy starter kit consist of? Happy to give you some examples again. I will give my email address right to the AFP folks. You can reach out to me directly. I can pull some examples from the kits that we are seeing from our customers, from the 15,000 nonprofits using our tools, and happy to pass those along. All right. Is legacy a term and language that resonates with boomers? As Gen X ages, do they move to legacy interest? Legacy interest is a nonprofit specific bit of jargon, I guess, if you were to call it that. But I think it's something that people understand. It's, rather than the when you die gift, that's not how we want to phrase it, right? Legacy is saying that when you are no longer on this earth, your impact is going to continue. So I think that's just how it's always been framed. And it's something that I think most of the older generations, so boomers, Gen X, even now millennials, are starting to understand exactly what that means. All right, number six. Let me see how many I've got so I think I can get through all of these in the next couple minutes. For those who don't have a lot of birthdays in your CRM, do you tag donors generation based on an educated guess to help with your communication plans? So if you don't have birthdays in your CRM, an educated guess would be the next best method, I suppose. But I think maybe what I would do instead is start to engage those people. If you don't have their birthdays, the next thing that you send them could be, I want to get to know you more. Like, right? You know us. I'd love to get to know you, what you care about, who you are, and maybe send them to, again, a simple form that would ask for a little bit more information so that you can cater to their interests and what they care about. So, educated guess is great, but I'd always say, rather than guess, ask and see what kind of interaction that you get back from those folks. Right. Kimberly, I know this is a huge request, but oh, email and phone number, that is not a huge request at all. Absolutely. I will pass them along to the AFP folks and we'll get them here. I'll say it out loud. KIMB@joinvalora.com is my email, but again, happy to send that to you guys in a post email follow-up. All right. Do these methods across generations apply the same across cultural groups? Our donor service base has three different major cultural groups. I would say there probably is some overlap, but no. I would say that generations versus cultures can be very different in terms of preferences and how you segment. And honestly, that would be something that I would definitely work one-on-one with the folks within your organization to ask appropriate questions rather than make assumptions about, cultural preferences. I feel like there is always going to be a level of appreciation and understanding when someone says, "Hey, I don't want to pretend to know who you are. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you care about." And even if you don't get 100% participation, I guarantee you that the ask is going to mean something because you're learning and understanding them or trying to rather than making assumptions. Number nine, the millennial decisions breakdown. Any thoughts about publicizing or sharing your organization's gift acceptance policy on the website? Again, I would say test, don't guess. While we are speaking in higher level generalities, right, for all of these generations, like not every millennial or every Gen X person fits all of the things that we talked about today, right? Humans are humans, we're all individuals. These are just trends, right? So I would say when it comes to sharing those types of things, do a trial and see how people react. Is it helpful? Do you get negative feedback? You can always kind of go back and forth, but that shows that you're willing to adapt and evolve your policy based on the people who are supporting you rather than just moving forward with whatever you think is best without any sort of feedback. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I lost my place. Number 10. Where would you recommend starting to implement some of these strategies and tactics as an organization and a small development team? Fundraising pages, appeals. Start there. Make those pages a no-brainer, right? So like when people visit your website, that donate button should be very prevalent for where or why I should donate, the impact, and then the page itself should make me want to go, absolutely, yes, I want to do this, right? So I'd say if you've got a small team, so many free fundraising tools, including Raisely and many others out there where you can create a really nice customized page with no upfront cost and then really get people to engage with you through that content. So I would definitely say starting there because if people are looking for you and they want to give, the last thing you want to do is make it difficult. So that would be my suggestion for starting. I think that was number 10. All right, we've got 14. I'm not sure if I can get through four in 4 minutes, but we're going to try. Because of the nature of the work we do, child loss support, very hard. I'm focused on relationship building with donors, but I've been told that boomers and Gen X see their donations as transactional, not relational. Relational. It's hard for me to engage that way. Honestly, I would say for you, I would lean the other way in terms of relationship, and the ones that who want to be transactional will be anyway. I actually heard someone say, a nonprofit friend of mine say they had a donor who gave a significant amount, 5 figures every quarter, and only asked that they never contact him. He says this is for tax purposes. I don't want your emails. I don't need a thank you phone call. I would say that is the absolute outlier when it comes to donors. So if you've got a generation that might lean towards more transactional because it is maybe like just related to their taxes, you don't want to isolate the ones who want that relationship. So I would lean into relationships, and the ones who don't want the relationship, they won't opt in, and that's fine. We don't ever need 100% participation. We just need the people who appreciate it to feel it. Number 12, I have 3 minutes. Any tips when someone donates and you don't know their age generation? Again, ask, right? You might not want to do that on the original form because, again, less is more when it comes to that initial form fill. But sending them a thank you email, for example, with a, we appreciate that you know us and want to support us. We want to know and support you. Click this link and fill out a simple questionnaire. And again, doesn't have to be long, can be like 3 to 5 questions. Age, what do you care about? What's your favorite color? These things that when you automate the outreach going out, it's going to incorporate those preferences and make them feel seen. And the fact that you even asked, right, even if they don't click, is going to make it appear that you're not just here to say, okay, cool, thanks for your donation, and then ask them again 365 days later. You want this to be a relationship, not just one-sided. Number 13, thank you for the presentation. Do you think that a user-friendly app that helps major gift and planned giving personal uh, I'm not sure I understand this question. So anybody, for whoever asked about an app that helps with major gift and planned giving and personal calculations, please email me because I would love to clarify that question. And then last question, I have 2 minutes. We're going to do it, guys. Realistically, a nonprofit will have a website that is not tailored to each generation's audience, correct? So what are the minimum content pages that should be included? I would say, oh, I still have my presentation up. Use this graph to decide what that one page, right? 1 or 2 pages. Maybe you have one that segments one way if they click on one page and segments another. If not, and you only have one, that's fine. Use the things that are overlapping to reach the most generations. So again, outcome and impact. What does my donation give? I don't want to just see the thermometer that's telling me that you're about to hit your fundraising goal. I want to see what that means. How many more families are we feeding? How many more acres of land, right where I am, are being conserved? I would say that that is definitely something that you want to elevate to the top of the list. And then based on, what we see here, obviously, if you're, let's say that you have too many boomers and you want to really start to engage Gen X and Millennials and Gen Z, doing things like peer-to-peer, recurring giving, mobile first donation experiences, that's where you can start to lean into the preferences of those generations. So keep this graph handy, use this as kind of like a best practice for what are the few things that I can implement that are going to make the most impact across generations. It's 12 p.m. I don't know if I'm going to get cut off, but I think we got to all the questions, guys. If you have any more, please do email me, KIMB as in boy, at joinvalora, that's with a V.com. Please reach out. And hey, to find me on LinkedIn, I like making new friends. Even if you don't have a question, it would be great to be connected with all of you because I so appreciate the work that you do and the fact that you are here today to learn and better the sector as a whole by doing so. So thank you guys so much for your time.
On behalf of AFP Global, I would like to thank you for your participation in today's webinar. Please take a moment to complete our survey, which helps us program future events. Join us for our next webinar, Why Direct Mail Should Be a Core Channel in Your Fundraising Strategy, sponsored by Print It Forward on tomorrow, May 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern. This concludes today's stream. Thank you and have a great day.